We're going to be in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent today, and I'm going to start off by having a conversation. I know I'm getting looks from people in the room like, seriously, John? I'm going to have a conversation, start off by having a conversation with you around models and E2P. And when you get into real estate, depending on if you're brand new or you joined Keller Williams Realty, you've been in the business for a while and you're starting to implement models that are in this book, we start with the economic model, which is how we determine how many appointments we need to go on in order to earn the amount of money that we want to earn. Real simple model. And that leads us to the lead generation model, which is what do we need to do in order to get the number of appointments we need to get, to sell the number of homes we need to sell in order to earn the money we want to earn. And what's interesting is we see a lot of different plans from different agents when they get into business. Gary talks about leading with models and the importance of building a real estate business based on models. And he also talks about when we want to add creativity to this model. And one of the things that I've seen many different real estate agents do is they get into the business and rather than leading with models, they lead with creativity. And one of the worst things that can happen for them is they're successful. In other words, it's working. And then they get fooled into a false sense of security that this works. And it does work to a certain point. The problem with it is when we get into a conversation around E2P, that tells us that everyone has a natural ceiling of achievement. And when we lead with creativity, the ceiling of achievement is lower, and we have a pretty tough time breaking through that ceiling. Threw that away on purpose, Aaron. So I'll throw it away later. And I want to chat with you about this today because what I want to see is I want to see all of you have massively successful real estate businesses. And I'm a big believer in models. I'm a big believer in modeling. Every decision I've ever made in my professional career has been based on modeling. In other words, Pierre, every person that I've decided to get in business with was based on this concept. Even before I knew what the concept was, I understood the importance of find somebody who's doing what you want to do at a high level and then just follow them and do what they're doing because they probably know more than you do. They probably know more than I do. Gary says success leaves clues. If you're taking notes, which is code for take notes, please write that down. People who produce outstanding results do specific things to create those results. Well, one of the questions that I ask myself when I read that is, what are they doing? If they're doing specific things, what are those things? I want to identify what is it that you do that causes you to succeed at a high level. I can't model you if I don't identify what it is that you do. He goes on to say modeling is the pathway to excellence. He doesn't say modeling is the pathway to mediocrity. He says it's the pathway to excellence. Winging it is the pathway to mediocrity. Leading with natural ability, which we all have, some of us have more than others, is not the pathway to excellence. It's the pathway to success. You can lead with creativity. You can lead with your natural born sales ability, and you will see success. However, there's a ceiling to how much success you're going to see. And the challenge with that is when you hit that ceiling and you don't break through the ceiling, then you start looking for a better way. I'm going to get to that in just a second. The movers and shakers of the world are often professional modelers. Well, if the movers and shakers of the world are professional modelers, then who do I want to be? I want to be a professional modeler. If I want to be a mover and shaker, Pierre, then I simply just want to be a professional modeler. The trick to getting most out of creativity is always start with proven models for success first. In other words, build your business with that foundation of a model first. Implement the model before you add creativity. Many people try to use creativity as a shortcut. Okay, boy, write that down because I see that every day. Many people try to use creativity as a shortcut or as a way to cover up for their lack of properly or fully implementing the model. I see that happen every single day. Now, on page 38 and 39 of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary gets into a conversation on natural ability and ceilings of achievement. And here's what Gary has to say. People, that's you guys, tend to predict success based largely on a person's natural abilities. This can be problematic no matter where you see yourself in this spectrum. Lots of natural ability can lead to overconfidence. Likewise, lack of natural ability contributes to low confidence. So much so that many never even attempt tasks that appear to be outside the realm of their natural abilities. When Tara and I were having the mastermind at the Fort Lauderdale Market Center on Wednesday, one of the things that we were hearing was, I'm hesitating to get into lead generating because I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to overcome the objections, or God forbid, I get a listing appointment, holy cow, now what? In other words, this is someone who doesn't have a belief that they have lots of natural ability. So that lack of belief in themselves is causing their ceiling of achievement to be lower, okay? And one of the things that I would share with you, if that's you, is you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start in order to be great. Just pick up the phone and start making calls. You don't have to know all of the lead generation scripts and all of the objection handlers or all of the scripts to convert those calls to appointments in order to make a call. Simply pick up the phone and ask, do you know of anybody who's looking to buy or sell a home in the next 6 months? Just start with that. Do you know of anybody who's looking to buy or sell a home in the next 6 months? Or a home in your neighborhood recently sold and there are still buyers looking for great homes like yours. Just out of curiosity, who do you know that might be thinking of selling their home in the next 6 months? Start with that. Or I noticed your home recently came off the market. Just out of curiosity, are you still interested in selling your home? Start with that. When you hear no, if I had an offer on your home today, would you want me to bring you the offer? When they ask you, do you have an offer? That's a great question, and I won't know until I see your home. That's exactly why we should get together. I just need 10 or 15 minutes to pop by so I could potentially bring you an offer. Does today at 4 o'clock work, or would tomorrow at 5 o'clock be better? Start with, I notice you're selling your home by owner. Just out of curiosity, if I had an offer on your home today, would you want me to bring you an offer? Start with, I like to keep my friends and family members updated on the market. That simply means that I send them interesting information on the real estate market once a month, and I call every 3 or 4 months just to check in. Would it be okay if I added you to that group? All right, did I just give you at least a half a dozen scripts that you could use in lead generation? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes. Is this being recorded? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Can you go back and watch it again?
Yes.
Can you write down everything I said word for word? And if you write down everything that I said word for word, can you read it back to the person on the other end of the phone? Right. Then do you have to master lead generation in order to start making calls? No, you don't. Just listen to what I said, write it down, and read it. You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. Lots of natural ability can lead to overconfidence. Likewise, lack of natural ability contributes to low confidence. So much so that many never even attempt tasks that appear to be outside the realm of their natural abilities. He goes on to say, natural ability can take us only so far. No matter how gifted we may be, each of us eventually hit our own ceiling of achievement. All right, so let's pause there and let's go to the E to P model. Now, E to P simply means what I do entrepreneurially, or what comes naturally to me or is easy for me, has a ceiling of achievement. Now, if I have a high ceiling of achievement, then I am going to be successful. I'm going to have immediate success. I'm going to get appointments. I'm going to convert those appointments to agreements. I'm going to sell homes. And I can fall into a false sense of security that I'm a natural born salesperson. I am really good at this. I got this. I've created my own way to success. I don't need the training that's being offered. I don't need to learn the models because what I'm doing is working. Well, it may be working now, or it may have worked 6 months ago. The question is it going to work for you when the market shifts? Don't forget, Gary says that we succeed when the market is doing well because of what we're doing right, but we also succeed in spite of what we're doing wrong. And what's going to happen when you hit that ceiling? Well, in order to break through the ceiling, you have to get to purposeful. In other words, you have to get into training. You need to work with a coach. You need to practice and role play the conversations of real estate so that you're converting more of those conversations to appointments. You need to spend time mastering your listing presentation so that you're getting more listing agreements at the listing table. You have to get purposeful. If you don't get purposeful, you're going to live your entire career down here below the line. Now, let's talk about what happens when you continue to hit this ceiling. In other words, you're not experiencing breakthroughs. Continuing to hit that ceiling leads to frustration. It leads to resignation. In other words, this is as good as it gets. Then I'm just going to settle for my current level of productivity. And eventually it leads to looking for greener pastures. This is the one that gets me. This is the one that keeps me awake at night, because I see real estate agents, when they could choose coaching and training in order to break through the ceiling, in order to take their business from 2 million or 3 million to 20 million. If they would put in the time and effort to go to P and be purposeful and experience a major breakthrough, they have the ability to go from 2 to 3 million to $20 million a year, or the ability to go from $60,000 to $90,000 in income to $600,000 in income. But instead, because they don't go to P and get purposeful, they look for greener pastures. In other words, if 100 grand is my ceiling, how do I keep more of that? So in other words, they're choosing 100% of 100K versus, I don't know, 95% after cap and everything else, 95% of 600K. Would anybody logically choose 100% of $100,000 over 95% of $600,000 if they knew that was the choice they were making? And the answer to that is no, of course they wouldn't. But I see people do it every day. And if I sound like I have passion in this conversation, Aaron, it's because I do. It's because I do. Gary goes on to say, when I hit that ceiling of achievement, whether it is low or high, how will I break through it? That's the question that you're going to ask yourself. Now, here's the second thing that keeps me awake at night. I see agents not asking that question. Rather than asking, how will I break through the ceiling of achievement? They're asking, will I break through the ceiling of achievement? And when the answer is no, I won't, they give up, they settle for mediocrity, and they look for greener pastures. Go from, will I break through the ceiling, to how will I break through the ceiling? What I've discovered is that by starting with models, you can push your ceiling higher. All right, so start with models. And first of all, that ceiling is going to be higher for you than it will be for somebody who starts with creativity. In other words, master the lead generation model, pages 133 to 149 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Master the lead generation model before you add creativity. Don't lead with creativity. Master 20 conversations a day, building your database, adding new METs to your database every day. Communicate with everybody in your database in a systematic way. Master using 36-touch smart plans in order to build relationships. Master having care call conversations versus sale call conversations. Master the model from a MET to connect to a lead to an appointment. And if they're not ready to meet with you yet, then it's nurture. Master that model, master follow-up before you go to creativity. You're going to push ceilings higher when you do that. Even great models will have limitations. So even when you've mastered the lead generation model, there's going to be limitations. Eventually, you'll hit a new ceiling. This is when I encourage creativity. This is when I encourage you to start adapting the model. Don't abandon it, adapt it. So for example, I'm crushing my goals. I'm scheduling listing appointments. I'm going on Listings Pierre, and I'm getting lots of listings, but I'm hitting a ceiling. Why am I hitting a ceiling? Because I'm only one person. So what could I do? Well, maybe I can look for maybe I can look for leverage, and I can hire an assistant to take care of my 80%. So I can focus on my 20%. Maybe I hire a showing assistant so that I can work with 10 buyers versus working with 5 buyers, because a really good real estate agent can handle maybe 5 or 6 A buyers at a time. That's your ceiling. It's going to be very, very difficult to do more than 5 to 6 A buyers at a time because of the amount of time that you're going to invest in them. However, if you have a showing assistant, or you have a couple showing assistants, and you have an administrative assistant that's taking care of your 80%, you're pushing that ceiling higher. You're experiencing a breakthrough. Gary says, this is when I encourage you to start adapting the model. Don't abandon it, adapt it. All right, talk to me. What'd you hear?
I love that. You know,